Let's talk now about how you can get the most from your outsourcer. Well, firstly, you've got to know what you want. You can't hire somebody to do a job unless you know exactly what it is you want them to do. And this means you need to understand the task and have definite goals for that task. You can't have something vague and woolly, because how will you know when they've done it? It's got to be absolutely quantifiable in order for you to get the most from your outsourcer. You also need to know exactly when you want it by. It has to be a realistic deadline. Don't expect somebody to create, 20,000 words of text in half an hour. That's not going to happen. Expect realism and you will get it. Don't expect to contract somebody to produce something right at the last moment and, for them to do it. They may not physically be able to do it. You've got to make sure that you plan in advance so that you can say, right, well, this job will take 2 weeks to do. I need it in a month's time, so I'll start it now. And then you've got some contingency time. You have a week or two of contingency just in case it's late and for you to do any corrections to it. So always build in that contingency time. So if you need something in 10 days, order it 14 days in advance, that sort of thing. You also have to know what your job is worth. There's no good you going online and saying, right, well, I need this job done, how much is it going to cost me? That sort of thing tends to get some very weird and wonderful results. You'll get the very, very cheap bids, and then you get the much more expensive bids. It's really swings and roundabouts, to be perfectly honest. Get onto the outsourcing sites, have a look through the different jobs, find some that are similar to yours, and see how much they are going for. That will give you an idea. I mean, if you don't know what it's worth, you don't know whether the cheap guy is a decent price or is just ridiculously cheap, or if the expensive guy is right or ripping you off. So you need to know what it's worth in order to make sure that you get a good outsourcer. And this information has to be communicated to the outsourcer. You need to tell them exactly what you want, when you want it by, and how much you're going to pay for it. Obviously the pay is negotiable. They tell you how much they want for it. You tell them how much you're going to pay for it. You negotiate and you come to a final figure. Now, typically people will pick up outsourcers for short-term products. Write me 10 articles, write me an ebook or something like that. But it may be a longer-term project. It may be creating software, a complete website software solution for you. In which case, if it's a longer-term project, you could set like weekly deadlines. I want this done by week 1, this done by week 2, and so on and so forth, and arrange regular update meetings with them. And this really ensures your project is running correctly. The last thing you want is it to be a 6-month project. 5.5 months, you get a hold of your outsourcer and say, hey, how's it going? And they go, oh, well, we're having terrible problems. And you've got to launch it in 2 weeks' time. You don't want that. If you set the regular deadlines, the regular milestones and meetings, you can continue to steer the project. And whenever they encounter a problem or a query, you come straight back to you. You can resolve it and move on. You may find that as you go through the project, some of your requirements change as you think about new features or features that you don't need, in which case these milestone meetings are a good opportunity to add features and take them out. Now obviously if this increases the work, you may have to pay your outsourcer a little bit more. Depending upon what you're doing, you may want them to sign a confidentiality agreement. It's called a non-disclosure agreement. Now, if you come up with a killer idea, the last thing you want to do is to tell your outsourcer to program it and for them to go to all their mates, hey, have you seen this guy's idea? It's really good. That's going to completely screw your business, okay? You need to, if you think it's something that's good, something that you don't want other people to get hold of, get them to sign a non-disclosure agreement to keep it between you, and that way there's no chance of it leaking out into the market, and if it does, you have recourse against them. I would, unless it's a minor job, something under $100, I would always recommend that you either pay by escrow, particularly if it's over a couple of $1,000s, or you pay a deposit. If it's a longer term project, you may pay fixed amount every week or month, depending on the length of the project. So that way it just protects you. You're not paying everything up front. The project doesn't get delivered. You're out of pocket. This way, if it's in escrow, if they don't deliver, they don't get the money. If you're paying for regular milestones, you're paying for the work as they do it, which means that if they don't deliver the rest, you can take it elsewhere. You're not out of pocket. Same with a deposit. It means you're not out of pocket. Now, if you're trying to outsource something, you have to be very, very precise about what you want. We have talked about this before. If you're vague and woolly and you really, you don't give them exactly what you want, then how can you measure what they've delivered? You can't. You have to tell them exactly what you want so that you can make sure you get it. You can't use vague language or terms, Make your language precise. If you want some websites or some articles, give a figure. Wherever possible, quantify and qualify. I know it ends up making the task a little bit more complex, but you make sure you get out the other end exactly what you want. If necessary, create a document outlining your requirements to them. Write out exactly what you want and provide it to them if it's not in the advert or whatever. And if you write out the document and then get them to send you an email saying, I agree with what's in there, then you have, legal proof that they have received your requirements and accepted them. Just protects your back. You've got to be precise about how much you expect to pay as well. Don't leave it open. I would say that for most things you want to avoid hourly rates. Because, what happens if the project then, you think, oh, it's only going to be 3 hours. But actually, when you start it, you realise it's going to be 20 hours. Suddenly, there's a massive increase in your costs. A fixed price encourages the outsourcer to be very, very effective in their work. If you're paying them, for 3 hours work, say you're paying them $150, they're going to do their best to get it completed as quickly as possible and as good as possible. They're not going to try and stretch it on for ages and ages in order to increase the amount they earn. There will be lots of other ads, lots of other people looking for articles or ebooks or software written or whatever. And that gives you an idea of realistic price. As I said on the previous slide, it's way, way too easy for you to say, well, give me an idea of how much it will cost. But, what if they don't know? What if they say, oh, wow, hey, we've got a good one here, we can fleece him for lots of money, and they give you a ridiculous figure. If you don't know how much it's going to cost, how do you know that the price that they've quoted you is realistic? The other option is to invite a half dozen or more outsourcers to bid on your job and then compare the prices if you really don't know how much it will be. Look at the average price and pay for something somewhere around about there. But don't just go for the lowest bid. Too many marketers will rush out and think, I've got to get someone cheap. They'll go out and pay somebody $1.50 to write articles and they get back gibberish and then wonder why. You have to pay a decent figure. The old saying, if you pay peanuts you get monkeys, that applies. You will get monkeys. You have to make sure that you get decent quality people, so pay decent bids, decent amount of money. If you pay a pittance, expect rubbish. Seriously. I mean, occasionally you can find people who are new to some of the systems that I'm going to show you, and because they're new, they're trying to build up their feedback, so they'll charge less. But be aware of that. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the best. And whenever you're hiring somebody from a site, always check out their feedback and the other work that they've done. Make sure it's decent quality, just for your sake more than anything else. If they've got lots of negative feedback, just like on somewhere like eBay, that's a red flag. What's the problem with them? You want people that have good feedback and have done other work similar to yours. Now, one thing a lot of people don't think about is local outsourcing. You put your adverts onto Rent-A-Coder or Elance or somewhere like that, and you get people from all over the world bidding on your jobs. But what about the people on your doorstep? Your local area might be full of people who are unemployed, people who are looking for a bit of extra income. You might have stay-at-home mums who are looking for a little bit of extra money. Maybe their kids have gone to school, so they've got a bit of free time. What about people who have retired? There's a lot of people in your local area who could do some of the work for you. They may not be internet marketing experts, but if there's simple stuff that you need doing that you could easily teach them, get them to do it. Advertise either in sort of local newspapers, or what about advertising on Craigslist? You can find people. There are a lot of people locally. Your target would be the stay-at-home mums, the unemployed, the people who are after extra money. I'm not saying take advantage of them, pay them a decent rate, but they're right there on your doorstep and they can work with you. And that's a fantastic opportunity. It's a fantastic resource that I feel many internet marketers miss. People... I'm trying to think how to explain this. People get obsessed with working online. They really do. They think online and internet and that's it. And they forget that if you look out your window, there's a whole world out there. There's a real world offline. And there's people there. Your next door neighbour with the 4 kids, she's got a computer. She can do internet stuff. Maybe she could do directory submissions or article submissions or, answer your support emails or something for you. You got the advantage of, if there's a query or a problem, she can come and bang on your door, or give you a call. Think local as well. You don't have to just obsess with the internet. Now, the direct contact for many people is actually better. I mean, I work in both ways. I work with people in my local area and I work with people online. Local area doesn't tend to have the specialist skills that I want, obviously. But I like the direct contact. I like to be able to go to someone and say, look, I've got this. I can draw on pictures, write a few notes and say, can you do it? And they go, yeah, no problems. It's a lot easier often than trying to explain it over an email to someone, thousands of miles away. Now, you can hire them for anything. Article writing, bookkeeping, search engine optimization. They can do all that sort of thing for you and more. Just think about what you need doing and what they can do for you. Maybe they have specialist skills. This is a really effective way to get good outsources. It's a way to get people who can do a good job for you and they're going to be motivated. A stay-at-home mum would like a little bit of extra cash. Who wouldn't? And, you being able to give them this helps them. It makes friends in your local area. It helps your local community. And, of course, it helps you. Now, I would recommend that you ensure you don't take them on as employees. Unless you're in a position where you want to, try not to do it. There's a legal and tax minefield with employees. And unless you're at a position in your business where you can approach that and take it on, don't go near it. It's just going to be a headache for you. Make sure that they realise that they are freelancers. They are responsible for their own tax, and you're hiring them for, you may hire them for some time, but you're hiring them for short-term little bits of work. And that way you'll avoid all the legal and tax obligations. I mean, employees can cost you quite a bit of money. You got health and safety, tax, holiday, maternity, and all that sort of thing. And, you may want to deal with it, you may not. It's up to you whether you do or don't. But if you don't, make sure they remain freelancers. If necessary, get a sort of a freelance contract drawn up or something like that, just to ensure that they do. But there's a lot of places locally you can find outsourcers. Another a good way that I've not mentioned on this slide that I really want to share with you is your local university or college. Now, that is a place that is full of people with some very, very specialised skills that are very bright, that, to be honest, are always looking for more money. People want to fund their way through college. You want articles written? Go to the English part, where they teach English language or something like that. Put up an advert on the notice board. Or even just go and approach the tutor or the lecturer or the head of the faculty or something and say, look, I'm a local businessman. I need these skills. I understand you have a classroom full of people who could do this. I'd like to hire some people. And do you know what? In most cases, if you're legitimate, you go meet them face to face. Make sure you look presentable. Tell them a little bit about your business. In most cases, they will go to the classroom. They will even take you there and say, here, tell them a bit about it. And you'll get people that will want to do the work for you. And you've got to pay them fairly, obviously, but they're going to help. They're going to help build your business, and they're going to be good. I mean, if you're after particular skills, if you've got a website on parrot breeding or Chinese cookery or farming or something, what about the experts in your local area? Maybe there's one of those you could contract to do some work for you. Nothing to stop that. Could you go to your local Chinese restaurant and say to them, look, I'll pay you this much money. I'd really like to video you cooking some dishes so I can put it onto my website. Maybe even reference their website on there. They perhaps love the exposure. It's an option. So, there's a lot of things you can do locally. Just don't write off the local aspect. It's very, very powerful, and you'll be surprised what resources there are in your local area.